Listen, I was thinking today about the power that is in a team, the power of a team. And that is something that a lot of people, we have a lot of leadership voices and a lot of thinkers that have contributed to the discussion on the value of teams. But I think we are still missing a degree of revelation on teams, what it affords us, what it makes possible to us. And I'm going to give you teams today, not from the angle of what it helps you to accomplish. I think people have resolved that teams help you to achieve things. I'm going to talk to you about the benefits of finding a team, creating a team, being involved in a team from a spiritual standpoint. And, a lot of what I have seen in people, whether they be leaders or visionaries or thinkers or doers or whatever their particular contribution to the kingdom is, I find that there are certain character distinctives in those that are a part of a team and those that are not a part of a team. I also find that there are people who are the heads of things, organizations, ministries, churches, companies that are filled with vision, but they are absent of the ability to design the right team. And just as significant as the model, and just as significant as the vision, and just as significant as the direction is the team, and not just the team, but the competence of the team, the willingness of the team, the humility of the team, the dedication of the team. And so we need a revelation of teams, and I have a revelation of teams. It is one of the earmarks of all that we do. Humbly speaking, I believe it's actually behind a great deal of the success and the momentum of what we're doing. I have had the privilege to form 3 teams. Okay, so I'll give you my examples. It doesn't have to be that way for you, but I'll give you my examples, and then I'll show you some of the things that team involvement affords. First of all, I created a team about 14 years ago. And I prepared that team for a space of a year to be what you know today to be All Nations Worship Assembly, the headquarters church in Chicago, Illinois. And I spent time with that team. I honestly didn't know that that was the right way or the best way or the effective way to do it, because I didn't have much church planting resources around me at that time that would take that approach. Most of the resources that were available in that time, we're talking about fundraising, facility challenges. But what I did was I spent a year with a team, and from that team we built a ministry that was actually in that time born from or birthed out of the chemistry, the relationship, but most importantly the revelation that we had established, the synergy we had established, the congruence we had established as a team. So the move of God that you are experiencing today, those of you that have been to our church or one of our churches, or if you have seen it, or if you've been following our story or not, all that you hear was bred initially by the formation of the chemistry of the joining of a team. The challenges that came with that, the wounds that came with that, the disappointments that came from that, the fears that came from that, and so it was born from a team. Then after we started gaining momentum with that, I developed another team, an apostolic network, a fellowship of churches that is called the Gate Fellowship, the Gate Network. That's GATE. And many people don't know that that's actually an acronym that stands for Global Alliances Transforming and Engaging Society, is what it's supposed to be. But we have lovingly deemed our team or our family of ministries the Gate. It's very simple. It's just the Gate. That's what we call ourselves. And we are currently going through a rebrand and expansion plan, something very, very, very strongly. Okay, so that's the Gate for you. But we started another team, and a part of that team was a joining of pastors, a joining of leaders that were autonomously working, autonomously building, autonomously erecting in their own particular cities, people that actually know how to construct things, and as an act of their will, not by coercion, not by manipulation, not by bribery. We didn't go around trying to recruit or sell bishop seats. We didn't go around trying to recruit or sell positions. We weren't trying to make people there. It was a mutually understood thing that God was calling us together to join under the canopy of a value system, not necessarily a brand or a logo, or even in opposition to something else that was. It was very much an organic relationship thing. Now, many of you are laughing, but it's very real. There are people who establish organizations and organisms, entities, based upon position and the opportunity to advance, so to speak, within a position. And so we established that, and we have taken our time designing that, and we are taking our time with making sure it is the right design for the thing that God called us to do. So we don't have the same type of rhythm or the same type of selling points as many other ministerial organizations or groups. However, we do have a value system, and we let our value system determine our rhythm. So because we have a different rhythm, we also don't have the same types of worries that other people in more traditional, more common ministerial organizations have. We don't worry about people being replaced or people being fired, bishops running for positions and all of that stuff, because it's almost difficult. And I'm not saying this to be unnecessarily controversial, but if you start a move of God and you involve voting and human comparison and human competition in the move of God, it's almost automatic that it's going to become corrupt. Why? Because native to the political spirit is corruption. You cannot have a move of God, marry it with politics, and then be shocked when corruption, greed, scandal, secret kids, affairs, all that stuff come out. It's just, what happens there. So we didn't want to do it that way. So we used relationship as the model and relating to do it. And we used the Bible model. Jesus gave authority to those he related to, and there was no paperwork to solidify their relationship. There were no agreements. They literally joined in mutual understanding of who he was, what he was building, and their willingness to be a part of that. And it created a network, a context. It created a wineskin, if you will, for the revelation that would be pouring out. So that's the way he did it. And now normally, because as is true to all teams, when you bring people in that type of context, who they are, what they want, and what they know will all be revealed. Their thinking, their beliefs, their wounds, their fears, their fractures, all of that stuff is confronted in the context of a team. So we built a team, and that team has grown, and it's growing right now. I have some things I'm implementing this year to continue to offer that resource as my ministry to senior pastors. And then most recently, I've created almost another a team of pastors who wanted to be expressions not just of the impartation of the word or the authority that I have, but of our house. These are campuses. These are sites. So the main church is in Chicago, Illinois, right? But through the Gate Fellowship, I don't plant churches. That is my ministry of accountability, of resource, of supervision to other pastors, right? But when it comes to All Nations Worship Assembly, what I do is I plant sites out of All Nations Worship Assembly that serve as expressions of who we are and what we do in whatever region of the world we opt to plant them. It is my hope, and it is my motivation, it is my aspiration to plant one in every gateway city in the world, in every gateway city in America specifically. I have an anointing or a call or a mandate for the urban city. And so we're planting things in every city of the world. And I probably will have about 100 of them by the time I'm done. But that's a part of our vision, and that's a part of what we are doing. That's a part of what we believe God has called us to do. But at the top of that is also a team of people who, again, discerned authority, discerned a revelation that challenged them, that made them feel understood, that gave them a sense of belonging belonging, a sense of connection, and again, without coercion or manipulation, or without bribery, or with any fleshly mafia-like recruitment tactics, we joined together. It began around a round table, literally with coffee, not in complaints or discontentments about what was, but what should be. And as a byproduct of that conversation, we decided to join. And because we decided to join, the person that we decided should lead them manifested. So that's a team. So I have in my life created several teams. Let's take it to the forensics of the main house, which is All Nations Worship Assembly. And I'm giving you this just to kind of give you a brief vitae of why teams are a revelation and why it's important. So even in the context of our local church has a team for everything. I am such a voice, an ambassador, an advocate of the multipliers mandate. I believe that every person that is on the Lord's side, that is actively engaged in kingdom assignments, I don't believe you are as worth it unless there's more than one of you. That's my conviction. I believe that that earth needs more than one of everything God is using, and I believe we see that throughout all of the pattern of creation. Everything created in the earth requires a team to bring it to pass, and not just any team. This is why two men can't conceive. This is why two women can't conceive, but a team designed to fit together for function to produce things. Things only function when they are designed to belong together. And in life and in ministry and in assignment, you end up discerning the design of yourself, the journey of yourself, the design of another person, and then you come together and you fit together in the context of that particular team. And it creates things. It creates things that should live. That's what we see in the order of creation, is not just how to create, but how to join things in the context of a team. So in our church, everything we do is done in teamwork. My vision, it is not there yet, but at the end of the day, at the top tier of leadership beyond an executive board that handles both the business affairs, the literal direction of the strategy of our church, there's a pastoral team. So currently, our church is swelling rapidly, over 2,000 members. We took in about 170 people, I think, alone in January, and on an average, we take in between 50 and 70 people per week. So we're growing at a very, very, very rapid rate. And so I am the lead, the senior pastor. I founded the work. I had no donors. I had no offerings. I literally had a 92 Royal Blue Chevy Beretta, a bus card, and probably about $5 to my name. So I didn't have anybody pushing anybody. And in fact, people literally just started believing we were called to do what we were called to do. It took for a couple of years to get known before people actually believed we were supposed to do it. And we still got some that are being challenged. Anyway, so then we started there. But here at this level, I don't approach pastoring or leading or steering my church by myself. And most people understand that. Other people don't understand that, particularly those that fight mega churches, though people that fight the fact that churches have, okay, let me get rid of this. Goof, bam. People that fight mega churches and fight the fact that, churches should exceed more than a couple of hundred people. Generally speaking, the psychology and the chemistry and the camaraderie and the whole feel of being in a smaller environment is radically different from being in larger environments. So there's some people who don't want to be a part of large churches, but I believe in the mega church. As a matter of fact, I think that every church that is God's idea should be mega. I believe in numbers. There's a whole book in the Bible called Numbers. God is interested in nations. He's interested in cities. He is interested in generations. So I believe that every church should be mega if it was God's idea, not the franchise of somebody's personal brand or a lifestyle move where somebody needed a way to stop their itinerant career and to become more stable people for the sake of their funds and for the sake of their personal stuff. So anyway, I believe that when it's God's idea, I think it should grow. I think that's a part of it. So I don't think that we have a heritage in the scripture, particularly the book of Acts, where things should be small and insignificant and not capable of carrying cities or carrying nations into deliverance and into reformation. I believe that churches should swell and that they should be big. Now, I don't think that every church that swells is indicative of health, because I believe that all cancers and growths and infections cause swelling. So some of it is fruit. Others are tumors, and I just think it depends on the word of God to distinguish the difference. Anyway, so I have begun to design a senior level pastoral team, and by the time it's over, I want 12 men to help me lead at the pastoral level in Chicago. So I would be the 13th, but then there would be 12 men at the top that divided 12 aspects of our ministry, and they led them again with teams. So even at the top, it is my design that they'll be led by 12 men, or women. I'm using the term men broadly, but 12 apostolic figures at the top to be able to manage the full grasp and the full stretch of what we're supposed to do, not just in Chicago, but to the world. That's how I believe it should be designed. That's how I'm going to do it. You don't have to. I'm just showing you how I believe in teams. So even in the main house, everything we do is done in team form. Now, I'm going to be very specific. If I cannot do it, if I can't do it in a team, I won't do it at all. If it is not something that can be trained in, I will not do it. Now, that has made quite a bit of people angry. It's made quite a bit of people disappointed when they've come into All Nations, because everybody belongs in a team. I don't care who you were. I don't care who ordained you. I don't care what your credentials say. I don't care about any of that. Your former experiences are worth more to you than they are to me on most cases. So the way I prove people, the way I vet them, the way I see if they can be trusted with greater realms or measures of authority, the way I determine their credibility on whether or not they should be serving in front of people is by involving them in a team. So if we literally, this is not an example, this is not a hyperbole, this is not an exaggeration. We have teams for everything. I'm going to give you an example. We legitimately have the pastoral team, that top tier. Right now it's me, and I have 4 other associate pastors. One of them is an ordained apostle. The rest of them have their own ministry endeavors, but they are placed in the house almost akin to how they were at Jerusalem. One of them is a female, Dr. Pam Ross, and the rest are men of God. They are the apostolic minds and figureheads in our church right now. Eventually there will be 12 of them, but right now there are 4 associate pastors. Our ministry is broken up, and they have oversight under different areas of that particular thing. So that's the top level. But then under that, we literally have an elders council, an elders team. So in our elders cabinet right now, I think we have about 30 to 40 ordained elders. All of them are involved in ministry actively. They don't just sit on the front row and cross their legs and count money. As a matter of fact, none of my elders count money. They all have people work as their responsibility. So either they're governing elders, or they are teaching elders, or they're counseling elders, but we have elders. And I just added 52 new potential elders in our 8-month training cohort to see whether or not they would be beneficial elders in an all nations context. So if they make it, then we would have almost about 80 elders in the elders council that serve for the day-to-day management of people, to make sure that no matter how big it gets, that we never forget that people are our priority, because people are ministry. And so part of what they do is they are on a rotation. So one of my associate pastors are at the head of the elders cohort or the elders council, and the elders council have different areas of the ministry that they serve in for the month, and then the following month they end up switching it out. So some of them are counseling for a month, some of them are handling marriages for a month, some of them are a part of altar ministry, some of them, so they are always active on a post. These posts that the elders function in are reportable posts. I'm going to get to Revelation in a minute, but I'm just getting this out about why this is so important. important to me. Those posts of the elders are reportable. I don't believe, this is me. You don't have to get offended and send this to Bishop Gorilla Godzilla and make him send me hate letters. I'm saying the way we do it. I don't believe you should be an elder who cannot account for what you've done. When you cannot account for what you've done, then I think that all you've done is you've received a title and you've received a reward for your service, but you are not actively involved in ministering to people. So in my church, the elders have to give reports on what they've been doing, what they're learning, and it really helps me as a senior leader because it helps me to realize what the needs of my people are. It's one of me. It's all over 2,000 of them. So I can have a conscious awareness of what their needs are, their struggles are, their challenges are. So I, like Moses, rely on the reports of my elders to give me an idea of who's coming in our church. This is one of the reasons why it's so foolish, when other senior pastors get upset that people are joining or leaving their church, because the idea is that when you have a larger church, the senior pastor knows where everybody's coming from. I have no clue where a lot of these people are coming from, and quite frankly, I don't care. I think that's between you and the person who left or the person that you left. That's y'all's business to figure out. My business is to design and stay focused on what God called me to do, and no, I'm not leaving my pulpit to go and have personal interviews with everybody that joins our church to make sure that they left your church the right way. I don't care. That's between you and them. Now, I understand if it was brutal. I understand if it was disrespectful. I even understand if it's dishonoring. But personally, that's between y'all. That has absolutely nothing to do with me. And that mentality makes a lot of pastors mad as well. That's why I stay on their list. But it's just the point. I'm not sending you a letter for another one. I don't have that. I didn't hire office staff to work on pastoral letters to make sure you come with recommendations, and not figure it out on your own time. So the elders have to give reports, and they have to report who they were meeting with, not necessarily by name, but what they were learning, what they learned about our church, because in all nations, we are never smarter than the moment. We are always trying to figure out how to manage the momentum that God gave us. It's just the way, just when we get one system or one structure or one plan together, that's reflective of where we are. When we've perfected the plan and practiced the plan, we're somebody else. So because of the growth rate and just the rhythm, every time we manage or develop a plan that works for where we are, something has changed and we've got to redevelop a plan. And while that is extremely frustrating, I believe it's the Spirit of God's way of keeping us intelligent, of keeping us well learned, of keeping us engaged, of keeping us well informed. So I'm never smarter than what God is doing. We're always learning and always studying and always doing things. When you are pioneering something, what ends up happening is that you end up having to do a lot of things as that may seem experimental. Now, I'm not talking about with men's lives. I'm talking about as far as systems and procedures and processes and structures. And so you have to do some things experimentally to see if it works, and if it does, or to try another way. So that's very important. All right. So the elders are a team. And then here, pay attention to this, and I'm going to give you my revelation on teams. Please. You see how passionate I am about teams. Teams are important. We literally have prophetic teams. We do have about 5 to 6 ordained prophets, but we have prophetic teams. Those prophets that are recognized prophets in our church, they are assigned to posts as well. So when you are a prophet in the all nations context, not only is there training and schooling for how to serve your house effectively as a prophet. Most of the people that want to convince us that they are prophets have been living in this cave. They don't have any home training. Their only accountability is to God. They feel led on where to go, and then they come in the door talking this bull crap about, I'm only here for a season. God's going to send me somewhere else for a season. I just immediately just write them off. There is no way in the world you're going to be useful here. When you come in the door telling me you're temporary, I'll never build a thing around you. I'll never let you serve other people. I'll never let you say anything to my people. If these people have aligned themselves with a vision, then I don't need a temp exploring and experimenting on my people. So I don't even be bothered with those types. As soon as they come in the door, I'm just here for this season. I make sure they get a seat right by the cameraman or right by the sound system, but they will not have a microphone. They will not prophesy to my people. So that's very important for you to understand. So we do training when somebody does have a prophetic calling and they do have a prophetic anointing, or if they are called to the office of the prophet, we We send them through trainings. And then not only do we send them some trainings, what we do is we develop prophetic teams. So we even have prophetic teams. These are people who are not necessarily prophets, but people that have the desire to prophesy. So anybody in my church can go to prophetic training. We have curriculums for everything we do. And so they can go through prophetic training. They can be appointed and assigned to a team, and then they can switch the team if they want to quarterly, or they can stay with the prophetic team. So we have prophets, but we also have prophetic teams that anybody can be a part of. Number one. Number two, not only do we have prophetic teams, we have healing teams. That's right. My church has a strong value system for the power of the altar. So we have teams that pray for the sick. Now, these are not preachers per se. These are not people that have been ordained per se. These are not people that understand Greek and Hebrew, except they have learned it on their own accord. But these are people that are part of our church, because at our church, we don't want there to be a such thing as an inactive believer. We believe in the Great Commission, and we believe it requires all of us. So there are people who are part of what they do as their auxiliary, is that they are a part of a healing team. They pray for the sick. And not only do they pray for the sick, but they make appointments and arrangements to go minister to the sick. They have quarterly healing meetings. That is Sioux for Healing and Miracles. We have a healing and miracle team. Not just that. We have a deliverance team. So part of what we do is we schedule personal deliverance appointments. When you are dealing with addictions, when you are dealing with sexual battles, when you are dealing with emotional battles, you are dealing with divorces, you are dealing with all that stuff, you may not be able to get the full spectrum or the full depth of your ministry at an altar call. You may need a personal deliverance session. So we have elders that are appointed there, but we also have people that spend time casting out demons. Now, I know you're going to think that's extreme, and I know you're going to think that's not necessary for the life of the local church, but I would rather listen to the Bible and listen to Jesus' model of ministry than yours. We do cast out devils. Some stuff we can counsel, and some stuff we cast out. And we train people in the casting out of devils. Why? Because Jesus trained people in the casting out of devils. The basis of his discipleship with the 12, which, by the way, the first thing Jesus did before he picked up a microphone and started preaching and gathering people was start a team. He was fresh out the water. That dove had just lifted off of him. As soon as he came out the wilderness, he said, you, and you. Come, follow me. And if you follow me, I'll make you fishers of men. Because it's in the team context that you are made what you need to be in order to be useful for God. See, this is why we don't respond to teams well, because when you are invested in a team, you are in a making process, and people don't want to be made. They want to appear. They want to arrive. But when you are being made in the context of a team, it's because interacting with those people helps run into areas in your personhood that need work, and the unsuitables. You learn your strengths in the context of a team. You learn your weaknesses, your tolerances, your triggers in the context of a team. So we have deliverance teams. We have counseling teams. You can make appointments with teams of counselors. We have intercessory teams. There is no one thing as the intercessor in our church. We've got dozens, and I literally mean dozens. Our prayer meetings are not led by one person. We have prayer meetings that are led by several people. There is no less than 8 to 9 people that lead prayer on a consistent basis. The same is true with our prophets. We have a prophet who is the leader to the other prophets in our church, but we don't have a house prophet, and I stand in the office of the prophet, but I serve and speak amongst other prophets in our church. We don't have a house prophet. The reason we don't have a house prophet is because no one prophet has monopoly on what God is saying and what God is streaming by revelation to a house. When you create them house prophets singularly and nobody else, you don't have at least 4 or 5, what happens is you create a Jezebel and a diva who starts being the person that controls all of the streamlining of heaven into that particular place. So I'm not impressed that you got one prophet in your house. I think if your house exceeds 200 people, you should at least have about 6 to 7 prophets. So that's neither here nor there. So we have teams for everything. My wife has a team of educators for education. So the point is, we have teams for everything. We don't have a worship team. We have worship teams. I think we've got about 5 worship teams, and we're always creating more. There are always those that are in queue to be trained, that are learning how to lead, learning worship leadership, learning glory carrying. And I won't ever have one worship leader. Not while I'm the pastor, I won't. Because if you get offended because I call you out on holiness, or you sounded a little flat last week, or you went off into a little personal exhortation to call yourself preaching when you should be leading worship, or you decided the Lord dropped something in your heart this morning and you're going to experiment and try to teach the congregation the words to the song the moment you got it. No. To make sure that you can handle rebuke well, and you can handle being challenged. If you get offended and go up the street, then I'll fire you and let somebody else do it. See, when you raise up teams, you never have an exaggerated need of one particular person. You never have somebody that can control you or manipulate you if you have more than one of them. So my strategy is I need more than one of everybody, because should you decide that you don't want to be here, I won't lose a beat in the rhythm, because I'll have somebody to replace you in a matter of minutes. So here is the revelation of teams. Teams confront character. They provide the atmosphere by which the true you can be known. A lot of people get really thrown off by that. They get really fearful of that, and they really do like to work alone. But there's a lot of churches out there that are not joined to a broader team. There are churches out there that really think that they are significant enough to make an impact on the nation, and that's not true. If you're barely making an impact in your city, I don't know what makes you think that the nation is going to be changed because you preach something that goes viral, or because you No. You're not that important. You're not that significant. Without joining to a broader body of churches, you probably won't make very much impact. You may touch your county very well, and we may read about you if you do some things that are memorable, but you're not going to bring any elongated, memorable change if you're not a part of a broader body that can make a real blow against the princes that are working against America. To be clear, so I believe churches should belong to a broader body and a broader conglomerate that can help them to really bring change and to be stretched out. The reason I believe that is because there are churches out there in different regions that are pioneering, in different regions that are pushing, and they really do feel like they are the only ones out there. So they have never been brought in an environment where they see other members of local churches that are doing the same things, pushing in the same way, making the same risks, making the same changes. And so I think it affects your morale, and I think it affects your strength when you are joined to a broader national or international family of churches that's moving in the same direction. So I don't think an isolated church is strong enough, powerful enough, popular enough to do what they need to do. I think churches need to belong in teams, but I believe people need to be in teams. I think apostles need to be in teams. I think fivefold ministers need to be in teams, and I think they need to be willful submission to teams, and not just those that come to build resumes and those that want to be promoted or to find credibility. Anything with momentum has to be very careful of the motives of the people around them. This is a daily prayer of mine. Help me to see a snake before it hisses. Help me to recognize when people want me to help them just because they want to hand up to greater visibility. I don't want to lend what God has given me to sign off or be the seal on somebody that is in filth or unclean people. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is I want to be able to walk with those that God has called me to walk with, and lend credibility to those that are willing to live up to the standards of God that God has given me for my particular mandate and my particular charge and what we're doing. So that's important. Teams confront character. Notice there were arguments that the 12 would always have around Jesus. Who's the greatest? Who's going to sit next to him there? Will we reign for you? Who's throne? Those arguments were confronted because in the context of a team, you end up having people's humanities revealed. This is why insecure people who really are more acquainted with their gift than they are their soul, they're not really aware of their bondages. They have used ministry or their particular niche or their pastors like this. That microphone makes them big and mighty. Them platforms, boy, they are keyboard bandits. They are home row key thugs. They get behind social network stuff and they just go, I'm going to get you. They do all of that. But a part of the problem is because they are not involved in a team of people that can critique their actions, critique their words, critique how they look. They really get away with a lot of that stuff because they don't have a consistent environment that is regularly confronting character and regularly confronting presentation, regularly confronting motivation. So teams afford you that opportunity for stretched accountability, for authentic accountability. Another thing, and so everybody that comes to our church, we eventually want to see funneled through and channeled through a team, because a team will reveal how well you will handle promotion. Somebody should never be promoted in anything before they have been observed in the context of a team. And for me, if you never work in a team well, if nobody ever sees you in a part of a joint collaborative, a joint effort, a joint partnership, I put red marks all around you. There's in the team context, because that will reveal the truth about what is active in your heart, what is active in your soul, and what is important to you as a person. So I always watch people who don't do well in teams. If I have my eyes on people for promotion or even impartation, then I put them in a team context for a season, and I watch and I listen and I brace myself. I put caution around myself before involving myself in a promotion process or an impartation process to see if they can handle a team. Because if they can't handle a team, they cannot handle authority. I don't want them to be giving me fake compliance because I'm the face to the thing or the top dog in the whole move, because it's very possible. Many of you pastors are guilty of promoting people because of how they are to you, of how loyal they are to you, about how they make you feel, about what they say about you. But you can't promote or invest or position or place people that are not good to the team just because of what they do and how they are to you, because ultimately what you're going to do is tire out, exhaust, abuse, and mishandle the people that have been working faithfully in the team just because you saw talent and wanted to make a risky move to bring somebody up. So teams will allow for you the right to have people be revealed. That is very important for you to realize that teams will reveal you. Teams also will help heal you. When you are in the context, I need to go to my charger really quickly, but when you are in the context of a team, you find out that there is opportunity for you to be healed. There is opportunity for you to be healed. When you are in the context of a team environment, your hurts will be known. Now, you can pretend that they're not there. You can even attempt to protect them. Most of us try to protect our wounds and protect our hurts and things that have affected us before, but sometimes when you are in the context of a team, that stuff ends up being revealed whether you like it or not. It ends up being confronted. It ends up being, hey baby, it ends up being coming out, because a team will, because of their engagement with you and their regular involvement, you're going to talk about what hurts you. You're going to talk about what your fears are. All of that stuff is going to be known. Your panics are going to be known. Your paranoias are going to be known. So a team really has the ability to heal you. So working in the context of a team will help people to learn you so well that it will end up running into your life and your soul wounds. I think that I might be freezing just a little bit, but I hope that you are getting this. A team will help run into your soul wounds, things that affect you. A team will help run into memories. A team will help run into challenges. A team will help bump into things that you thought you were freed from and did not. A team will reveal all of that stuff. Teams impart patience to you because you've got to work through the communication challenges, the personality differences, the grace differences, the makeup differences of a team. And so they'll also confront your patience issues, the power of patience in your particular life, or how mature you are with having to wait and having to work along people. So that's very important for you to realize. A team will heal you. We have learned that a team can create. God does everything in the team. Everything that God does, he does in the form of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. So even God creates and God builds and God forms in a team context. Jesus not only sent out 12, but he sent out 70. And we don't know what his interactions was, what his informational deposits were, what his learning opportunities were, but there were 70 others. As a matter of fact, when the disciples got together and they were arguing with him about they were dealing with him about going out to the nations, Jesus had to tell them, listen, I have disciples that are not a part of this fold. I have people that I've invested in, people that I've poured into, people that I've developed that are not a part of this particular fold. So he said he had another set of teams that he had to create. And he must have invested something in them because he trusted them to be his representatives. He trusted them as disciples to go out and extend what he was doing. So the problem with you is that you probably don't have the right team. Maybe you don't have your life team. Maybe you are in a ministry where you are not in a team, but teams really do help you become the best you. You won't even know your real strength or your real potential if you can't work well within the context of a team. There are certain supernatural rewards that come from people who do teamwork well. So my admonishment to you, I gotta go. My kids are begging me for food, but my admonishment to you is find your team. If you are a senior pastor and you are plowing and you are building and you are constructing a work and developing vision, but you are not a part of a team, Satan is going to wear you out. He's going to get you out there and you're going to start engaging with principalities and powers that are going to tire you. They're going to tire you emotionally. They're going to tire you psychologically. And when you reach burnout and your marriage end up going crazy, your kids end up going wild, one of the things you're going to wish you had done was had a team. Why? Because without a team, you have no consistent input for impartation, for encouragement, for strategy. You don't even have a sounding board. It's one of the ways the devil is killing pastors is by making them be so proud and egotistical and so self-centered and so self-serving and so self-seeking that they are unwilling to be a part of a team. If you are in a local church and you are a pew member, you need to be rebuked. You need to find out how you can get actively involved in a team, because a team will reveal things about you that you may not know yourself. Find your team. If you are a senior pastor and your church is not in a fellowship or a movement or a network, Google, research, go find somebody whose word pricks you, whose word challenges you and stretches you and interrupts you in a beautiful way, and join their team. Don't just sit there on your little corner thinking that you're going to change the world with your 4 and no more. That spirit is ruining us. You've got to find your team. And those of you pastors that are building churches and you don't have a revelation of teams, you are only reliant upon 3 people to do all of the ministry work, you need to be rebuked. And you need to have a wineskin and a revelation of the multiplying of teams for everything that you need. When you have teams, you end up investing in the longevity of what it is that you're doing. I believe establishing teams in your church will help you to live a lot longer. You won't die of a stroke and a massive heart attack and stress and depression and suicide and go to prostitutes and smoking crack or the down low or whatever you out there doing. You need to get a team so that you're not frustrated with your work and the pushing of your vision to the extent that all of this pressure is on you as one person. May eyesight come upon you to discern the team you belong to and to invest yourself in them fully for what God has called you to do. All right, that's my burden for today, is that's the power of a team. I'm getting out of here. I can't see any comments, so I have no clue if you can see me or what you're hearing. But go back, watch this on the replay, and be convicted about being a part of a team. All right, love you. God bless. Was I frozen?